everyone. Today is November 2nd. Welcome to a new month with us. And today we will, let's see, what's the focus? More lower body, kind of glutes, legs, hips, inner thighs, movement wise. If you want to start with some ankle weights on, I have those on today myself it's an option though, always. We're going to start laying down on our bellies and we'll get going from here. So our theme for the month, slow transitions. So we're going to give at least a minute here just to be in your own arrival process, putting on the playlist, making sure you have enough space around your mat. If you have more space to create, you might want to create it. You can spread out a little bit. And then let's find a comfortable spot for the head. You can rest your head on your hands or bring one cheek to the side. And then just another bit of time here where, again, you're just kind of tuning into what feels natural, what feels sort of easy, we'll say, to pay attention to as you arrive into this time for movement, connection with body and breath, and any other awarenesses you want to bring into this time and space for yourself today. And then let's together begin to feel that motion of breath inside the lower torso. That gentle lift of the body as you breathe in, and how more of our body weight relaxes back down to the ground as we exhale. We're breathing in and out of the nose. Begin to make the breath a little more quiet, a little more subtle. But still able to sense that expansion and sense of the air moving back out. And as we continue to breathe in this way, let's take a scan of the body. Notice as we begin here the different surface areas of the body that are touching the floor, from the feet, the different parts of the legs that are touching, and then those parts that maybe are not touching the floor as you rest here. The different parts of the torso and chest and arms. And then moving into the back body and how the back is exposed to the air. We're just tuning into this capacity to sense and notice our body and the shape that it's in, our body in relationship to the space and the environment surrounding us. That 360-degree awareness. As we continue noticing that, let's prop up onto our forearms. The elbows can be slightly forward of the shoulders or right underneath, depending on how that type of back bend feels in your spine today. And as we subtly shift our shape, Start to tune into any subtle sensation of stretch as we lift our chest and as we start to push the forearms and the elbows into the ground. And let's play with the center of the pelvis starting to press into the ground and notice how that feels for your lower back. And if you let that action release, if anything changes sensation-wise in your lower spine, and I want you to find a spot that feels healthiest, happiest for your lower back. Like how much bum engagement, how much of the tailbone shifting back toward your heels feels good, healthy, supportive for your lower back, and then maintain that shape and start to bring the chin toward your chest. And then let's lift the chin all the way up until you feel a gentle stretch through the front of the throat. And chin back down toward the chest, letting the weight of the head hang heavy here for a second or two. And then good, chin lifts right back up. And then from here, as the chin goes down toward the chest, let the chest sink down toward the floor, sensing the shoulder blades coming toward one another. And then do the opposite. We push the center of the chest away from the ground, lifting the chin. Check in with your pelvis position once again as we open into the front of the throat. And then the chin goes down toward the chest. Let's do this one more time. We sink down the forehead and the chest and sensing into that motion of your shoulder blades on your back. And then we'll lift right back up into our Sphinx Pose. And then let's add a gentle rotation. Take your right shoulder toward the center of your mat and bring your gaze past your left shoulder. So we'll take a little turn. We come back to center and we do this side to side. Left shoulder turns toward the right. Look past that right shoulder. Turn your gaze back as well. Side to side like this. Twisting, turning. Notice that rotation more in your upper spine. So consider keeping the pelvis more on the steady side, not moving so much into the ribs and the chest and the neck, turning. Good, and then let's bring it back to center. We're gonna curl the toes under and start to lift the low belly and the pelvis and the thighs away from the ground. And then lift off of the knees and shift your knees forward. And walk your elbows back towards your knees. Curl the toes under and let the weight of the head rest down here. So this child's pose with our forehead releasing down, our elbows and forearms on the ground, our toes curled under. Then we're going to stay on the forearms. Start to shift the body weight forward and take that extension through the spine, your big back bend. So let your heart sink down, let your ribs sink down, let your bum shift up toward the sky. And then think of that flexion in your spine. Tuck your bum, push the back of the ribs up toward the ceiling, and send your body weight back toward your heels. And then let's do this 2 more times. Shifting your body weight a little bit forward, come onto the tops of the feet and take that, right, that sort of mooing cow position in your spine. And then find the opposite position in your spine as your bum goes backwards in space, body weight toward your feet. Staying with your nose breath and asking that movement of the diaphragm to happens a little more easily when we stay with our nose breath, helping with our core stability and keeping that breath lower in the torso. Good, and then let's come all the way back onto our forearms. Our knees are going to come underneath our hips And then we're just going to test the waters out with some of these positions that we're going to flow through. So we're going to stay on our forearms and extend the right leg back and start to reach out through the right heel. And then bring that knee back down and try this on the other side. So we're just extending the leg long, trying not to extend around the spine so much, but keep it as neutral as possible. And I want you to just play with your elbows where those are and your head position. So you're not feeling a ton of tension pulling into the sides of the neck. So where does the head need to be as you continue to shift your legs? One leg back, the other knee stays bent. So we'll just be really mindful of our neck and our, like, the tops of the shoulders. If you need to make any subtle adjustments as we continue spending more time on your forearms, you do that, right? Whether your head needs to be lifted or the weight of the head needs to drop down at some point. Good. And then let's keep both knees down and bring the palms to the ground. And we're going to push down into the palms and lift the elbows away from the floor together. And then we're going to drop the elbows back down to the floor together. So I want this to feel relatively challenging, right? I know we're still warming up, but that it doesn't feel like, if the hands are really close to the knees, right? I could probably do this for many minutes at a time and not get very tired, not get very fatigued. So if the hands are a little farther forward, right, and we shift our body weight forward toward the hands, this is going to put much more, right, of our body weight into that elbow bend and straightening. So find that spot where you can be in control, both elbows tap to the floor together, and you lift back up together. And we'll just kind of lock this awareness of where the hands are, how far the hands are away from your knees, and we'll use this again in our little slow flowing sequence as we can continue together. So let's keep the elbows down. We're going to extend that right leg back, and this time we're going to reach the leg up. We're going to hold the leg lifted. Again, check in with your head and shoulder position, that as much as possible, you're not pulling tension into the neck. The shoulders are going to be working, of course. I feel those quite a bit myself right here, that right side especially. Yes, and we're not leaning into that left outer hip. So try not to lean so much over there, but kind of stack that left hip right over the knee. And then good, we'll bring that right knee down. We'll try this on the left side. The leg goes back, and then we lift the leg up, squeezing into the bum and the back of the leg, trying not to feel this so much in your lower spine. So we're not taking this big back bend. We're staying a little more neutral, kind of pulling those low ribs away from the floor, holding the leg lifted here in space. Good. Good. And then we bring, nice job, this left knee down, palms down, and we'll lift up off of those elbows. Good. Let's take the right shin and pivot it behind you. Left leg goes straight back to the back edge of your surface, and we're in our side plank. And just check in with that left leg position, that you feel it's in a spot where you feel as steady as possible here in your side plank. And then let's enjoy this side stretch. Left arm over your left ear. A gentle drawing in of your low belly and side waist as you exhale. That gentle breath in. Good. And then let's reach that top arm toward the left foot. And we're going to lift the left foot away from the floor and hold the shape, and see if we can come onto the right fingertip so the right palm isn't down. Yes. So we're lighter on this right arm. We're pointing through those left toes, reaching that left hand toward the toes, holding this shape. Again, check in with your neck. You need to make some adjustments of where your gaze is. So we have a little more, maybe even length through the sides of the neck. Less tension pulling into that left side. Good. Let's lower those left toes down, lifting your torso upright and taking this right arm toward the right ear and side bend into the right side body. Bring the gaze down toward your left toes. Good. Use your side waist muscles to lift you up. And then we bring this right hand down, bring the left hand down, and let's enjoy this rotation for a moment. So both hands on the ground. I want you to think of pushing your body weight toward, lengthening toward that left heel as the weight of the head drops down. Light body weight on your hands, so more of the lower body holding you upright here. Good, and then we'll bring both knees down. In between this position, let's come up into downward facing dog before we get to the other side and start to pedal out your heels, one and the other. You might change your hand position a few times the longer that we're here. Let's give your hands a bit of a different stimulus. Same with the feet. Change our foot position a few times as we pedal out. A little shake out of the head as well. So just to stay sort of in the flow with you, I'm not going to change sides. Just have to look at my backside for a moment, or just don't even look, right? We can know where we're going. We're doing the same thing on our left side. So let's bring the knees down. That left shin pivots behind you. Right leg pushes straight back to the back edge of your mat. And then let's reach this right arm alongside the ear. And just kind of enjoying the side stretch for a few breaths. You could change your gaze spot. Just think reaching from the heel, right heel out through the right fingertips. Encouraging the breath to be low in the torso by breathing in and out of your nose. Good. And then let's reach that right arm toward the right foot and lift the right leg away from the ground. Point through the toes and reach. Reach fingers toward the toes. Toes reaching straight back. Know your tendencies in your spine, right? So if you tend to be a big back bender, you're going to want to take a little bit of that out of this shape. If you tend to round through your shoulders, see if you can have a little bit less of that in this shape. Yes. Good. And then let's start to lower those right toes down. Lift the torso up. Take this left arm up alongside the ear. Side stretch. Gaze down toward the right toes for a moment. So we're moving slowly through some of the positions. We're going to have some layers, some add-ons as we continue. Just kind of getting familiar right now. So left hand down, right hand down. Keep that right leg reaching far back. And then push your body weight toward your right heel. Both hands are down. Head releasing toward the ground. And soften your elbows and the shoulders a little bit here. Good. Good. And then let's bring both knees down to the ground. Forearms are going to come back down to the ground. And we're going to find our hovering forearm plank. So let's shift the knees a little farther back. Have your toes curled under. And then lift the knees for a moment. And then tap them back down and hold right here. So right in the science labs of testing amazing bodies, they have found that this way of planking, right, not the knees fully lifted, but we're on our forearms, the knees are just barely touching the ground. This activates more of our core muscles, the back and the front and the sides all together. We can hold our body weight with just a barely little tap of those knees down. And you might feel, hopefully, a little more activation, especially in that lower core and the lower side waist. Good. And then we'll start to bring the thighs down. We come into that Sphinx position. Yes. Good. And we come all the way down onto the front body. And I want you to roll onto your right side. So this will be the last part of our sequence. Again, I want you to just get familiar with the shape before we linger here a little bit longer. So let's bend the knees. You're resting on your right side. You can have your head propped up or down. Left hand is in front, pushing into the floor to help to lift the lower side waist. More and more familiar with this, over the weeks. Okay, we're going to bring the top foot, your left foot out in front of you, and then extend your right leg long. Re-lift that lower side waist away from the floor as much as possible. Use your left hand to support this. Point the right toes down, and we lift this right leg up and hold this shape. Pointing the right toes down so the leg is slightly externally rotated, that right side. Yes, right leg. Toes pointing down, reaching out through that leg, lifting the leg up. And we hold this shape. A few more breaths. Nice job. Good. And then we're going to lower that leg down, extend this top leg out, point through the toes. Yes, and then we'll reach the top leg up, and then we squeeze the bottom leg into that and hold. Now point through the toes. I'm squeezing the inner thighs into one another. This left hand is helping. This left hand is helping keep that bottom side waist lifted and the legs lifted as well. One more breath. Good. Bend the knees. Nice job. Release that right arm straight out from the shoulder underneath you. Yeah, and then we're going to open into a twist. Take that left arm up and over behind you, letting your chest open to the sky. We're going to roll onto the belly and then right over onto your other side. So take a big rainbow of this left arm up and over. We roll onto the front, onto our left side, and let's try this on the left side again, just getting familiar with these shapes. Start with your knees bent. Consider your hips and your shoulders in line with one another. And then take your top leg, right leg, and bend that knee and bring that foot forward. And then extend that bottom leg out. Remember that top hand, so your right hand can support that lift of your underside waist. We're going to point those left toes down, reach long through the leg, engage the muscles of the leg by reaching long, and then lift the leg. Keep pointing the toes down, and we hold this shape. See if you can keep your head relaxed in your arm or in your hand. And stay with your nose breath. Keep that leg lifted, point the toes down, reach through the heel. 1 or 2 more breaths right here. Good. Lower that leg down with control. Straighten the top leg out. Yeah, so the legs are a little bit forward. They're not straight back from the hips. You'll feel quite unsteady. So if the legs are shifted slightly forward, hopefully you can balance a little bit more easily on that bottom hip. Top leg is lifted. We squeeze the bottom leg into it and squeeze into the shape. We're pushing that right hand into the floor to support us here as well. A few more seconds. Good. Release, release. We bend both knees. Take that left arm straight out from the shoulder underneath you and open that right arm into a twist. 3 slow breaths right here. You can roll open in a way that that right shoulder comes down to the floor. Please do so. And then on your 4th breath in, we'll take a big stretch. Right arm up and over your body. We come into our Sphinx Pose here on our bellies. So we're back into our starting position. Now, let's see if we can thread this all together. Maybe a little bit more intensity if you choose to go there with me, or you can always do what we've just done and sort of linger in the shape rather than add repetition, which is where we'll increase some of the intensity and potential for more strength adaptations, right? Okay. We're here in our Sphinx. Very nice. We're going to come into our hovering forearm plank, curl those toes, right? Lift the pelvis, lift the thighs. We pause here, 5 breaths. Check in with your neck shape and that strong push. Of the parts of the body that want to sink into gravity, Push those parts away from gravity. Last 2 breaths. Consider that subtle yet very felt drawing in of the core muscles as we exhale, letting that expansion happen on our inhales. Good. We're going to lift the knees, bring the knees close to the forearms, closer, walk the forearms toward the knees, and the palms go down. Let's 5 times. Lift the elbows, we tap down. Then make this perhaps a little more challenging now that you're a little warmer. Hands can come farther forward. Body weight can stay forward toward those hands. Last time, elbows tapping down. We lift up. Elbows tap down. Keep the elbows down. Bring your knees right underneath your hips. Extend the right leg back and lift the leg. So here's the add-on. We squeeze the heel toward the bum. Extend the leg. Lower the toes. Lift the elbows. Elbows down. Leg lifts. Knee bends. Extend out. Toes down. Elbows. Elbows down. Leg lifts. Bend, a little squeeze. Extend. Toes down. Elbows lift. Last 2. Leg goes up. Knee bends. Leg goes straight. Toes down. Lift those elbows last time. Stay with the leg movement. Now the knee stays lifted. Extend, rebend. 3 times. Check in with your neck. Those shoulders, that leaning into that left hip, try not to have as much of that. Good. Right knee down. Nice job. Bum toward your heels. Palms go down, rise up, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Feel free to find stillness in the shape or add any variety that you feel called to make. Hands, shoulders, feet and legs. And give a little shake out certain parts of the body that are feeling a little dense or tense. Good. Knees go back down. Forearms down. Left leg goes back. Let's try it other side. So the palms are down. Forearms, elbows are down. Check the first time here when we're lifting that left leg. Again, we're not leaning into that right outer hip so much. We bend the knee, straighten out, toes down, elbows lift. Get into your pace, your groove, left side. 5 times. Moving with you here. It's a steady pace. We want to move too fast that we're kind of bypassing the strength. Right? If we go a little slower, you feel where that effort of the lift, right, of the squeeze of our core, stabilizing the trunk. That 5th time, we're going to keep the leg lifted and pulse the knee or bend the knee, right, straight in the leg. Bend and straight. Good. Left leg goes long. Then that left knee back towards a child's pose, or feel free, downward facing dog. You might try down dog on your forearms instead of hands if you're shifting up into that shape. We'll all find our plank position together, and we'll find our side plank on our right side. Right knee down. Right shin pivots behind you. Left leg goes straight back to the mat. Lighter on those right fingertips. Left arm reaching. That same line as the left leg. Good. Reach that left arm toward the left toes. Lift the left leg. Good. And then from here, we bend. Similar. Yes. And straighten. Tap down. Lift the leg. Bend. So a little squeeze into the back of the leg. Straighten out, length. We tap down and back up. Feel free to change your head shape. Check in with those tendencies of your spine. Try to be a little more neutral. Try to keep the knee in line with your hip as your knee bends and as you straighten that leg back out. One more time. We're going to keep the leg lifted. Yes, and then take tiny little circles at the top. Little circle a few times each direction. Lower that left leg with control. Side waist engages to lift the torso. And let the body weight, the weight of the torso go toward that left foot. Feel free to keep that right elbow bent. Coming all the way up and over into your plank. Let's find a standing forward bend in between our sides. So plank, down dog, walk the hands back towards your feet. Take a hold of your elbows, let the weight of the head and the shoulders release down to the ground. Little pause here. 10, 5, 10 second transition times, just lingering. And then we come back. Second side. Embodying, remembering what it's like to give ourselves a few seconds, up to a minute or so, time and space in between whatever is coming next. So left side, side plank, and for a moment, long right side, leg, arm, reaching in opposition from those ribs outward. And then good. Right arm toward the right foot, right leg lifting. So you might look at the knee the first few times. Knee extends right out from the hip. The leg goes straight. We tap down. Continuing like this. Experimenting with being a little bit lighter on that bottom hand. Also, head shape, neck shape. Do one more here. Leg lifts, knee bends. We straighten out, tap down. The leg stays lifted. And those little circles, pointing through the toes. Tiny circles, maybe more like an oval. So the leg stays lifted, lifted, lifted as high as possible. Opposite direction. Good. Right foot down. Torso lifts. And again, consider letting the weight of the trunk, the weight of the head sink a little bit over here to the right foot. And then nice flowing motion. Torso, hands into our plank. Down onto our forearms. Little tap of those knees down, our hovering forearm plank. Two more breaths. From here onto the front body, onto the right side. Setting ourselves up, that first leg position. Left foot out in front, bottom leg straight out from the hip, and then slightly forward. Rest your head into your arm or into your hand. Good. Lift that right leg and point the toes down toward the floor so that right leg is externally rotated. Left hand again can be supporting here, and now we lift and lower. Think that inner thigh, moving from the inner thigh up toward the sky. And toes pointing down. We'll squeeze at the top, controlling the weight of that leg back down. And consider those ribs, the side waist hips not moving, right? Just that right leg lifting and lowering. Go slow. Feel the effort. Leg, hip, and find that support. Top arm. Good job. Lower that leg down. We stack the legs here. Have a moment. And then, good. Push that left hand into the floor and to stack the hips. It's a little space right here underneath you. That top leg lifts up and we squeeze. Keep the top leg lifted, just the lower leg goes down. We squeeze up. 5 times. Down with control. Little squeeze at the top. Back down. And a lift. One more time. Squeezing, holding like earlier. And then good. Those knees bend and open into your twist. Nice job. Bottom arm again straight out from the shoulder. Head is down. Roll up and over that top arm. Left arm over the body and behind you. See if you can set your legs and your spine in a way where the chest be open to the ceiling and the shoulder blades can be on the ground. Let's roll on to the front body. Big swooping motion. Left arm comes back around to bring you onto your front. Let's find a Sphinx pose or hands either side of the chest for a wide hand. So the hands maybe even outside of your mat for a cobra pose. In both shapes, whatever shape you're in, let those shoulder blades come up toward the ears and then pull the shoulder blades down the back. And then intentional release back down onto the front, rolling towards your left side. I come to face you. And then let's set the legs so that top leg, right leg in front, left leg extends out from the hip and then slightly forward so we can be balanced on our side, right hand supporting. Turn those left toes down as the leg lifts up. And then we take those multiple times here, lifting and lowering. So just remembering, right, you could hold at the top and have that be your work. You take rest in between. Listen to your body. You're going with the motion, the dynamic movement, a little squeeze at the top. We lower back down, feeling that inner seam of the leg, and the inner thigh, inner knee, out through that heel and the big toe. Two more here. Try not to lean back. I just noticed myself kind of leaning back, which takes some of the effort out of the hip. So try not to lean back as the leg lifts. Yeah, good. Okay, both legs extend out. And you might have a moment. Reset the legs, reset this bottom hand. Top leg lifts, bottom leg lifts, squeeze. Hold that top leg lifted and just the bottom leg lowers. And then back up. Squeeze at the top. Pull the legs together like a magnet. And then a slow open, just like a magnet. They're magnetized and it might be a little bit challenging to pull them apart. Slowly. One more time. Squeeze. Knees bend. That's it. Nice job. Top arm comes up and over, opening into that twist. Enjoy the shape. Find it in your body. You feel the hips can relax. Again, feel that rotation, middle spine, upper spine. Nice job. Great. Let's come back onto the front body. One more time, we find our Sphinx Pose. Knees bend. So you could stay right here in this upper back bend, right? Or one more time, we take into our hovering forearm plank. Check in with your lower spine that you're not dipping there, right? We're pulling those low ribs, low belly, center of the pelvis away from the ground. A strong push, forearms and elbows, squeeze into the toes. Holding here. Breath, still steady, rhythmic, flowing. Great. We shift the knees forward. Elbows step back toward those knees, palms down. Option, forearms down, lifting the bum, down dog. Or we lift off of those elbows, go for your straight arm, downward facing dog. So let's have about 1 minute of time in this shape. Something like a down dog. It could also be a knees down dog, more of like that puppy pose in between a child's pose and a down dog. Just to be in your own sort of inner listening of any variety you feel called, any certain type of stretches, hand, foot, wrist positions. And also using this minute as our intentional transition into the next part of our class today. You might find a few breaths where we stay in a still shape, considering that subtle, gentle, quiet nose breath. Now harnessing that energy, that activation we just created, maintaining it, letting it circulate inside of us rather than expelling it out through big breaths. Okay, let's bring the knees down to the floor together if they aren't already. And we're going to slowly shift into a squat with our heels lifted, and then up to a standing position from your squat. So you can keep the heels lifted, or as you're rising up, those heels shift down. We'll bring those arms out to the sides and take a nice big arm circle. We'll lift off of the heels, slowly lower into your squat and bring your knees back down to the floor. So we're going to do this a couple times, as some of you know, right? We could lean back, and maybe throughout most of this little flow here, we don't use our hands so much. It's an option, right? We can use our hands as much as we desire to. We're just going to give you some options as we're coming up. A little calf raise. We're trying to take it slowly down into our squat, keeping your heels lifted for as long as you need. And then when you need the support, if you need the support, lean forward into the hands to bring the knees down with control. Sitting back on the heels, right? Bring the hands down to lift the knees if you need it. If you don't need it, I'll encourage you, right, over time to think, leaning back, lifting the knees away from the floor together, rising up. And a couple arm circles here, just getting those shoulder blades to move on your back a little bit. And then good. One more time, back down. Knees down with control to the floor. Back up. Rising up. And this next time that the knees come down to the floor, we'll shift the feet over to one side. And we'll bring our feet around. And this might be a good opportunity just to have a block. You could have a Coregeous ball. Maybe just have some layers. You don't have to put them on right away, but just have what you need so you don't have to like get back up from your, sorry, I have to move this. This might make a little scratchy noise. Just have what you need around you so you don't have to like stand up as we're coming down here onto our back. So let's make our way onto our spine, and we'll have you hug your knees into your chest. We'll keep the ankle weights on if you still have them, just for a couple more movements. The legs are fatigued or tired, of course, and you've already taken them off. Keep them off. So think of like your supine child's pose. You're on your back. Great, and then let's rest the arms along your sides. Feet down, toes facing forward. And let's have the ankles forward of the knees. You can just sense and feel into that. And then we'll lift up into a bridge. So we push down into the feet to lift the hips. Maybe lift the hips just a little higher at the top to feel that sense of broad front of the hips. No crease in the pants. We're releasing the crease in the pants, straightening out those lines right in the front of the hips. And then as we lower the bum down, right, those creases come back right in the front of the hips. So we're going to lift back up. Here's what we'll start to layer on. Start to push a little bit more intently into your right foot. Let's bring the hands to the hip bones so you can sense your hips are in a certain spot right now. And then see as we start to hover this left foot, if the hips can stay in that same sort of plane, both hip bones. And then let's see about lifting this left leg up and reaching the toes toward the face. Keep the hips lifted, elevated. That left foot goes down. We have a moment. Good. Let's try it on the other side. Hands on the hips as much as possible. Keep those hips steady as the right foot lifts. Knee bends, knee ride over that hip. Lift that right foot, toes reaching back toward the face. The knee bends, we lower back down. Good. Lift the hips up a little bit higher. Take a couple little pulses, center of the pelvis, tiny up and down. So we kind of stay in that tension range where we feel our bum, some muscles in the back body, kind of staying engaged with these tiny little pulses, little pulse, tiny, up, good. And then lower the tailbone straight down to maintain that subtle arc in your lower spine. Good. And then arms out into the T shape and windshield wiper your legs side to side, gentle. Okay, we have one more add-on. If you choose to take it. So first option, right, we could stay in our bridge, both feet down. You can even stay with those pulses, right? Pulse for a while and then like let it rest. Pulse for a little bit longer, let it rest. Next option, we take that left leg and we lift it like we did. Yes, this time we start to lower the leg down. Maybe the heel can almost tap, but keeping the hips lifted at the same height, right? We lift that leg back up. The knee bends, leg straightens, toes toward the face, reach out through the heel, reach, 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 lift back up. Knee bends. One more time. Big straight leg. Arms can support this. Root down into that right leg. Reach out. Left heel. Lift back up. Knee bends. Left foot down into the full bridge. Both feet on the ground. Ooh, feel that right side. So we start with our hips, maybe not as lifted as we know we can take them. We want to like be able to maintain the lift, right? That same height as we're lifting now this right leg away from the ground. Just consider that. You can hold the lift and stay right here, or we start to add leg movements. Right leg, lift, little knee bend. 3 or 4 times. Sometimes I consider just kind of re-engaging that hip position right before I go through another round of that right leg moving through space. I feel that tiredness in the legs. Hopefully we're all kind of at that point, right, where, okay, we put some good effort in today. Lower body, bum, different parts of the hips, those muscles supporting the hips all around. Both feet are down. One last time, a few tiny pulses. Feel the effort in the bum. And then good. Tailbone to the floor first. We maintain, again, that tiny little arc in our lower spine. And then a gentle, gentle knees to the right. Knees to the left. And start to take that range bigger as you feel called to, that windshield wiper motion, and you might keep your legs stretching to one side. And this could feel really nice after that whole sequence if you bring your knees to the right and engage your left bum, right, a little bit more, kind of push out through the left knee. I feel like we're all at this point quite familiar with this shape, that sense of stretch and engagement all around that left hip, out through the front of the thigh. Try that out. Something similar on the other side if that felt good. Get a little bit more of that engaged, active stretch. Right side. If you still have your ankle weights on, let's release those. We can give a bit of a relaxed, loose bounce out to those legs. Let's start to extend those legs out and give a big bounce, the knees up and down. Get those arms lifted too. Shaky, shaky, shaky. A little like wiggle out. Disperse some of that tension, some of that effort that we pulled into very particular parts of our body. Imagine kind of like shaking it out and letting that energy kind of circulate like the animals do. Get some of that stress out of some of those tissues that we wanted to stretch and stress and get it dispersed. Okay, let's have a moment here. Still shape. Balanced breath. Take a few rounds of our 5.5 second count in, 5.5 second count out. And similar, like at the beginning, we did our body scan. I want you to notice what feels different from then to now? Which areas of the body are tingling or vibrating? Which areas of the body are easily, so effortlessly calling your attention if you just give yourself an opportunity to feel into the outline of your body in the shape that you're in now? Just be there with that sensation, those various vibrations, pulsations you can feel a few seconds longer, kind of lingering there. That figure four stretch might feel really nice for the bum and the outer hips today after this type of practice. So you can take that figure four stretch or any sort of twist that gets into your bum muscles, any stretch for the back of your legs that would feel good. We'll be here another minute or so, and then we'll move into our final resting position today. After this, present with stretching. Yeah, that figure four stretch is feeling like really, really good in my body. So curious for you as well. And it might be nice to do the figure four stretch with a little bit of that twisting we've done in the past, like letting your pelvis, your lower body rock side to side. So that encouragement for all of us, especially if you're practicing the time of the year that we're practicing live, where it's on the cooler side, that we put some layers back on as we move towards rest and release. Considering like maintaining your body temperature with relayering. And today, throughout this month, my intention is to give us a little more time to rest, and then of course this practicing, this embodying of what it's like to give ourselves ample time to come back into whatever is coming next, like really ready to receive that and tuning our nervous system from one thing to the next. And how much time sometimes that takes, not in a bad way, but it's kind of in a curious way for each of us. Especially after resting time. So let's start to shift into the shape that you desire to rest into today. The Coregeous ball, if you have that, or your blocks, could be really nice underneath your tailbone, that iliacus release. Somehow supporting your pelvis, even a blanket or bolster underneath your knees or thighs. Sometimes that feels nice for some bodies and their lower back. Moving around a few times until you find that shape your body can really release into without effort. There's no holding yourself in a shape, but you're supported And just letting your body weight rest to the floor. Initiating this relaxation response with a breath that's almost indetectable. That light of a breath. We can stay relaxed inside of our bodies. So gentle, so quiet. As you continue to rest this physical body, let's place the hands on the body in some way where you can feel that lifting and lowering of the lower torso. Present with that rhythm. And let's bring the hands down to the floor. Feeling that solid, stable surface. You might imagine some type of rock or grass or beach or mountain that you love, that you frequent often. Into that light touch. How you can feel the air coming into both nostrils and back out. Into the experience of the space and the air surrounding your whole body. I invite you to open your eyes for a moment and see some of the light and whatever you can see above you or in your peripheral vision, and then close the eyes back down. And then let's shift our bodies into one shape here before we come up to our seated position, something different from what you're doing now. And then let's use our hands. We'll push away from the floor to lift the body upright into a seated shape. We'll continue our slow transition together. You come upright, seated. If you were laying down that whole time, you might feel a sense of blood flow coming, moving from the head down, back down through the throat, toward the heart, toward the hips. And that sense of flow or rhythm, energy circulating inside of you. Any subtlety of sensation that you can easily tune into, just be with that for a few breaths. And noticing what it's like to give ourselves 3 to 4 minutes from one shape to the next, getting closer and closer to whatever is coming next in your day, yet staying here, aware of what's coming next, yet being tuned into your body, this experience, what's circulating inside of you, how we can hold both awarenesses. Planting this seed for us all that we remember a few opportunities to slowly transition from one activity to the next, even if just 10, 30 seconds to notice the tree before you start driving, or sip on your tea or coffee for a little longer without checking your phone or reading anything, but just being with one part, one layer of your sensory experience at some point in the day. Be practicing together here. Thank you so much, everyone. Wishing you wonderful rest of your day and week. It's been a while since I've kind of laid there and transitioned with you, like in a supine position, like, oh, that's so nice. I felt it. Felt like we were meditating together. It was lovely. Thanks for letting me lay there. Not that I need permission, but sometimes it's nice to be a little bit more alert and seated and guiding that way. But I really enjoyed laying and guiding that way instead, practicing my slow transitions with you.